All right. Shane Van Gisbergen this weekend. New Zealand fans, I don't know if you're upset about this, but he ran an American flag car. What the heck is a kilometer? Actually, this track, there's 2.41 of them, which is equivalent to a mile and a half. Anyways, before we get further off topic, further off track, whatever you want to call it, let's get into this thing. So, yeah, Shane Van Gisbergen, race 6 of 2025. And yeah, it was a rough one for the number 88 team. We did not do one of these last week. I was in Vegas, took a couple days to travel, didn't get a chance to watch, but I went back. I watched the onboard, listened to the radio as I do. This is during a live stream. There are people in the comments right now. Hello, people in the comments that are patiently waiting. I'm very appreciative for you. But yes, I will cut this. I'll put some graphics. I'll put some pictures or videos if necessary, though really not much video this week. Anyways, Homestead-Miami Speedway. SVG has raced here in the Xfinity Series before, but never in the Cup Series. Remember, the Cup and Xfinity car, very different. How did Cup start number 1 go? Not exactly great. Qualified 35th for this race. And another interesting fact about this Homestead-Miami Speedway, I already told you it's the same track length as last week's race at Las Vegas. It has progressive banking, meaning at the bottom of the track, it's got about 18 degrees of banking. Top of the track, it's got 20 degrees. So a lot of people running right on that wall. A lot of people scraping the wall, which we'll talk about later with SVG. But Kyle Larson, Tyler Reddick, two of the most known for running right on the wall. We are inches, centimeters, millimeters, I don't know if that's millimeters away from the wall. So it's very exciting to watch, very fun, but you can also run the middle. You can also run the bottom. That's Homestead-Miami. It's a very wide track. So as I said, he qualified 35th, and on lap 3 there was a crash. Not on the racetrack. HBO Max crash. So I lost about 4 laps there. No idea what happened between laps 3 and 7, so hopefully nothing exciting, I guess. But on lap 8, SVG comes on the radio, talks about how tight the car is, said really, really tight. By lap 15, he said way too tight. That is a theme for SVG's race. So then the tires, they wear a good bit at this Homestead-Miami Speedway around lap 30, which this is a point I want to make. Last year in the Xfinity Series, when SVG ran at some of these ovals for the first time, he had stage 1 to kind of get things going. You know, it's a short practice session. You don't get much time to learn the track. But in the Xfinity Series, stage 1 was essentially another practice session. The longest stage 1 would be in the Xfinity Series is 45 laps, which really isn't enough to get lapped. The problem is in the Cup Series, stages are almost double the length, at least in the first stage. So stage 1 in the Xfinity Series, I think, was 40 laps. Well, in the Cup Series, it's 80 laps, which means, A, you got to make a pit stop in the thing. 2, if you're running in the back of the field, you're more vulnerable to getting lapped. So around lap 30, green flag pit stops have started. SVG is still on the lead lap at this point, but he's getting close to getting lapped as he's running in the 30s. As I said, lap 30 is when it began. Well, SVG and team, there was an alternate strategy, essentially. We saw Kyle Larson use this. We saw Denny Hamlin use this in this race where you wait 8 to 10 laps longer and you're going to have fresher tires for the second half of the stage. So while you're going to lose time on the front end, you're going to lose time at the beginning of that run, you're going to be much faster. You're going to have fresher tires. You're going to be able to make up some ground that you had lost previously, and then maybe even a little bit more. They ultimately ran this because they were about to go a lap down, and if they just stayed on that strategy that Ryan Blaney, who was obliterating the field at the time, if they run that, they're going to get lapped no problem. So they run this alternate strategy. They don't pit till lap 43, actually. 4 tires, fuel, adjustments, all that time. They had a really fun battle coming off of pit road with Ty Dillon. That was neat, I guess. At one point, he said a word I can't say on here because we try to keep it family friendly. Won't bad word turn. Yes, so that was a point. He ended up getting lapped. He brushed the wall on lap 68, got on the radio and said, "Hey guys, I hit the wall. Anything to be concerned about?" No, it happens at Homestead. You just scrape the wall a little bit. 10 laps to go in the stage. There was a caution. Christopher Bell went spinning. SVG, they had the option to take the wave around. They take the wave around. They're able to get back on the lead lap. However, they do not pit because they had to take the wave around. The wave around, I can't remember the exact rule, but if you pit, I think if you pit at a certain time, you can get, I don't want to overcomplicate it. Basically, the wave around is if the lead lapped cars in front of you pit and you're a lap down, you are allowed to get your lap back. Or if you're multiple laps down, get at least one of your laps back. So SVG, all the leaders had pitted. He was able to get his lap back. He's back on the lead lap. He's on old tires, so he wasn't going to make any moves at the end of this thing. And he ends up finishing stage 1 31st. He talked about how no matter what he did in the car, it just wouldn't turn. He tried adjusting the brake biases and whatnot and just, frustrating. So now they're able to pit. They're on the lead lap, get some fresh tires, make some adjustments, restarts 29th. Quickly comes on the radio, says it's worse than it was before. Later gets on the radio around lap 113. I think stage 2 ended at lap 165 and says that the right front is gone and that they need to go back in the direction that they started. So basically, still bad. They pit around lap 119. Then he comes on the radio a few laps later, says the car is still tight. Then he said directly, this is a quote, "I just cannot get into the corner. What am I doing wrong?" So it was that bad. It was that poor handling of a race car that he genuinely wanted to know, what am I doing wrong? So car would not turn. Right front was getting destroyed, like the tire I think he was talking about. Lap 132, he hit the wall harder. Like you could see on the onboard, like when he scrapes the wall, the hood flap kind of comes up a little bit, or there's a little bit of smoke, and you can also hear it kind of hit the wall. This was the hardest he hit. No major damage. I mean, they were still slow, but ultimately, and after that, he said he can't turn. He keeps on hitting the wall. They finally end stage 2, finishes 33rd, so still a rough day. He said he's never driven a car this tight. So once again, the car is still tight. They've thrown some things at it. They made some adjustments. So the next stop at the end of stage 2, at this point, once again, they're a lap down. At this point, they decided, let's throw the kitchen sink at it. They took a long pit stop. They made some major adjustments to the car. They went under the car at one point and took like 20 seconds to do something with the spring. I don't know if it was with the spring. But they went under there. They were trying to figure something out. Rather than just doing a quick little twist of a wedge adjustment, doing some air pressure adjustments, they decided to do something major. Just try anything at this point. You're running in the 30s. Why not just do something insane? Anyways, wave around happens. Then they pit again. Or wait, no, I got that order mixed up, I think. And then they restarted in 35th. 77 laps to go. He gets on the radio again and says, still tight, still won't turn, right front still sucks. And the crew chief said, look, man, we've tried almost everything. It's been a rough day. We've thrown everything we can at it. We'll learn from it. Just finish off today, and we'll see what we can do. Caution with 59 laps to go. He said that running the bottom helped until he lost grip, and at that point it was back to normal. So as I said, you can run those multiple lines. He was running on the wall, running in the middle, diamonding the corner, entering really low, exiting really high, whatever he had to do, running alternate lines. And finally, he found something on the bottom. But once he lost the tires, it was back to normal. They pit. They restart 32nd with 50 to go. And then he said, I'm trying to not blow the right front off of it. And he ends up finishing as we come over to the final result. You got to scroll a little bit. He finishes the race one lap down in 32nd. After the race on the radio, crew chief Stephen Duran, I think it was Stephen Duran. It might have been the spotter, Josh Williams, gets on the radio and says, look, man, I'm sorry today didn't go well. That wasn't fun for you. We'll see what we can do with it. We'll see what we can take from this race, essentially. And then SVG gets on here and he says, that was a tough one there. So that was a perfect description. I think that's what I used for the thumbnail. That was a tough one there. So, yeah, SVG, technically he was as high as 4th on one of those pit cycles, but that was a pit cycle. So, but yeah, ran in the 30s all day long, no speed, struggled with the car, tight all day. They made some major adjustments. They tried your standard adjustments. They even took a super long pit stop to make some extreme adjustments, but just not their day. Maybe it was the American flag paint scheme. Maybe. If it was a New Zealand flag paint scheme, I'm curious to see how different the result would be. But yeah, that's all for the SVG recap. Next week, Martinsville, which remember, Martinsville, a track he finished top 15 at in the fall in the Cup Series. So I'm sure he's excited about that. I'm sure SVG fans out there watching this are excited about it. So Martinsville next week. Maybe a little bit more optimism for him, maybe a little bit more optimism for you. But we'll see how it goes. Thanks for watching this video. I got to get back to the live stream. I think I've talked too long at this point.